The show today, guys, we are finally getting some backboned Republicans to stand up, call Mike Johnson out on his fakeness with the GOP, with MAGA. Guys, President Donald Trump and Elon Musk have been working behind the scenes, and there is a big push now to finally get fiscally responsible when it comes to Congress and to make sure that our taxpayer dollars are spent wisely. Jim Jordan is leading the charge on this one, and this is huge. 32 House Republicans just warned Mike Johnson no $2 trillion in real enforceable savings or no deal. You either make us fiscally responsible, we either have a balanced budget, or you're not getting our signatures. You're not going to negotiate with the Democrats. You're not going to put in fraud, waste, and abuse. You're not going to put in a lot of pork into this reconciliation bill, or you will not get our votes, and you will not get this passed. Guys, we have the actual letter from these 32 House Republicans. It's about time that they're standing up, calling it out, and this is what Musk and Trump have been working for. They demand that the reconciliation bill include either deep spending cuts or to roll back tax breaks for corporations. They warned that no gimmicks will fly. They said we have to get back to America on track. That means cutting the fraud, the waste, the abuse, the excess spending. We have to codify Trump's executive orders and put the American taxpayer first when it comes to the spending of this Congress. Guys, does this not sound exactly what we have been waiting for, what we voted on? That is what I'm talking about. I'm going to show you the letter in just a moment. Let me know your thoughts, guys, because I'm super happy. They're finally buckling down, getting that spine of steel to stop wasting so much of our dang money. We also have it, guys. Representative Anna Paulina Luna has introduced the American Privacy Restoration Act to fully repeal the Patriot Act and strip rogue intelligence officers of their extraordinary mass surveillance powers. Because ever since they passed the USA Patriot Act in the aftermath of 9/11, intelligence agency officials have used their mass surveillance tools to settle personal scores, work with social media companies, censor conservative voices, interfere in elections, and spy on untold numbers of innocent Americans. Guys, this is putting Americans first, getting our freedoms back, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I am 100% for this because we saw it, guys. They were cutting people left and right whenever they didn't want their voices to be heard during 2020 and in 2016 and 2017. We need our freedom of speech. Without it, we don't have it. We don't have a country. On top of this, guys, I hope you're enjoying this. More arrests are happening. FBI agent who arrested, Rudy Giuliani, Trump's boy, Jonathan Boomer, has now been arrested himself by the Trump administration. Finally, we get some arrest. Boomer, a 15-year FBI vet, is accused of using his 135 pages of classified material for a tell-all book, trying to make that money. It was caught boarding an international flight when taken into custody. He knew what was coming, guys. He knew that whenever he released these classified materials, he was going to get put in jail. They caught him just in time. On top of that, Trump just saved the taxpayers $2.2 billion. Guys, this is beautiful. President Trump has just terminated NIH's funding of Harvard, a total of $2.2 billion saved from being given to a woke college. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and that's a year, guys. $2.2 billion a year. Want to say thank you to everybody who is watching, to all of our subscribers, all of our viewers. Thank you so much for your support. If you're not subscribed, please consider, guys, hitting that subscribe button, joining our family. We want you here. We want to serve you every day with the top news, and want to thank everybody that has given a super chat donation, guys. And thank you to all of our members of the channel. Y'all are truly the best. And I want to get some love already. Ruby Hoove, thank you so much for your support in gifting a TrueLife News membership. And thank you so much to our brother T Heavy Guy for gifting 10 TrueLife News memberships. Show T Heavy Guy some love in the chat if you got a free membership, guys. Thank you so much for your support. If you don't mind doing us a huge favor of hitting that thumbs up like button. Again, guys, this is huge. We've got 32 Republicans that just penned a letter to Mike Johnson telling him, get your butt in order, make us fiscally responsible, get to a balanced budget, and let's stop wasting taxpayer money. We have Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who just introduced the American Privacy Restoration Act to fully repeal the Patriot Act and make sure that governments cannot spy or censor Americans. Trump's administration just arrested the same FBI agent that arrested Rudy Giuliani, and he is now going to jail. And Trump just saved us $2.2 billion. We got so much breaking bombshell news tonight, guys. This is huge. Check this out.
I actually don't like to look back on the last 4 years that much because I'm really happy. And I am really happy they are over. But it's important to know that that ideology that almost destroyed us in the last 4 years is still very much alive. And in his first interview since leaving office, Joe Biden sat down with, not even an American network, by the way, he sat down with the BBC. I don't know how many takes it took to make it look less bad, but this demonstrated exactly why Trump won. This statement right here.
What did you make of those scenes in the Oval Office? President Trump and President Zelensky?
I found it
This dude's asleep.
sort of beneath America. Well, it's the Gulf of America. Maybe we're going to have to take back Panama. Maybe we need to acquire Greenland. Maybe Canada should be. What the hell's going on here? What president ever talks like that?
First off, I thought he fell asleep.
Guys, a real president. Yeah, we all thought he fell asleep. A real president talks like that. Putting America first. Not letting everybody rip us off and actually know what the heck is going on with your administration.
Who talks like that? Everyone who is tired of getting taken to the cleaners, everyone who has been footing a bill for something that has no end in sight, no plan, and has absolutely no benefit to the American people, i.e. Ukraine. My president talks like that. A president that is more concerned about Pittsburgh over Paris, farmers over Finland. You know what president talks like that? A president that doesn't let China fly spy balloons like all the way across the country.
Boom.
And then take a victory lap after shooting it down after they gathered all the intelligence. After. America is back on top. That's what's going on here. That's who talks like that. But the entire interview, look, it was so pathetic. He was like, look at how great a job we did. It was almost so hard to explain. And then he was asked if he thought he should have dropped out earlier. You're not going to believe what he said.
Should you have withdrawn earlier, given someone else a bigger chance?
I don't think it would have mattered. We left at a time when we had a good candidate. She was fully funded. What we had set out to do, no one thought we could do. And become so successful in our agenda, it was hard to say, no, I'm going to stop now.
Wow.
We've become so successful? This guy is more delusional than I thought. They left out like net jobs lost after COVID of like 2 million. Prices on nearly every consumable item nearly doubled. Biden had 2 new wars, 2 of them. Inflation hit 9% at one point. So based on what, bro? By what metric did you do such a good job? I'm seriously, what are you going to say? And what's the claim? Don't give me some, oh, we were more united than ever. We weren't even that. The political parties hate each other more than ever now, mostly because you use the Justice Department to declare anyone who spoke out against you a domestic terrorist. You censored them, like me, on social media. You said that people like me and anyone who supported Donald Trump were the greatest threat to America. Remember this?
Remember, guys, he called us garbage too? Like, this is the thing. The Democrats are trying anything and everything that they've got to try to steal the spotlight away from Trump and what he's accomplishing and what he's winning, but it's not working. Like, guys, this right here in my mind, looks kind of satanic the way it's being done. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But what I love is that we are exposing the far less progressive agenda that nobody wants. If you appreciate this, guys, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, thank you so much for your support.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Yeah,
wow.
Conveniently forgot about that. You didn't unite anything. Keep in mind, still 30% of America likes that guy. And nearly the entire media is continuing to fawn over him, even in his decline. I'm serious. And it is still hard to find media that thinks he didn't do a good job. They still praise this guy. He's never created a job. He's been on the government dole for 50 years. Everything he's touched has been worse off after he gets away from it. And he sits there in his old age. I'm like, bro, this globalist mantra failed, and he's still shilling for it.
100%.
Imagine there being no NATO. Do you think Putin would have stopped at Ukraine?
Dude, the main reason Russia invaded Ukraine is because you kept dangling NATO membership for Ukraine. It is really dangerous, actually, that the guy who was allegedly, we now know not so much, he was not in charge of the country at all, actually. The fact that he and his administration didn't understand this, we covered this months ago. Putin's goal is and always was to keep NATO off its borders. By U.S., or by default, that's the U.S., okay? In 1991, there was an agreement that reunified Germany after they tore down this wall. During negotiations on February 9th, 1990, U.S. Secretary of State James Baker told Soviet leader Gorbachev that NATO's jurisdiction of forces would not move, quote, 1 inch eastward from their current position if the Soviets accepted German unification in NATO. Now, fast forward to 1994. When Clinton signed off on expanding NATO. And in 1999, Hungary, Poland, and the Czech Republic officially joined NATO. Russia wasn't happy and had their objections, but they actually had no leverage to negotiate because they had just collapsed as the Soviet Union. Fast forward to 2004, where Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, two of which share a border with Russia, also adding Romania, Bulgaria, Slovakia, and Slovenia to NATO. And Russia, again, was...
And you know what's the worst part about all seeing this, guys? Is that think about how much we spend almost $1 trillion of our hard-earned tax dollars on defense that we have no audit that's ever been passed by it. And that's why what you're seeing on the screen is super important. That 32 House Republicans draw a $2 trillion red line on the reconciliation bill. This is the actual letter that was pinned to Mike Johnson telling him, bro, they demand the reconciliation bill include either deep spending cuts or a rollback of the Trump-era tax breaks, talking about for the corporations, warning the gimmicks won't fly. This is a deal breaker, guys. If this is not in place, 32 House Republicans are tired of the United States funding every single other country in the entire world for all the left-wing propagandist agenda, drag shows in Ecuador, Sesame Street in Iraq, things in Uganda, like all these projects across the world, tens of millions, billions of dollars. That's why what you're seeing is super important, because we are pulling back, showing everybody that, look, over time, our elected officials have ripped off the United States citizens, and it's time that we pull back. No more. Trump is behind it. Jordan is behind it. And Johnson, he better get behind it too.
Super ticked off about this. And they said, hold up, this is not what we agreed to. NATO didn't care. Then, in April of 2008, at the NATO summit, a bunch of leaders issued a declaration that signaled a, quote, strong support of Ukraine and Georgia to eventually join NATO. 2 more countries that border Russia, as you can see. In the Bucharest Summit Declaration of 2008, paragraph 23 states, quote, NATO welcomes Ukraine's and Georgia's Euro-Atlantic aspirations for membership into NATO. We agree today that these countries will become members of NATO. Okay, so Putin's even more angry. I mean, It's kind of clear, and the fact that he doesn't understand that is amazing. Then after bragging about NATO and how important it is and how it's a global peace thing or whatever, he went on to fail to recognize another reason Trump won, that Americans are tired of paying the bulk of NATO and these globalist platforms.
Look, we are not the essential nation, but we're the only nation in a position to have the capacity to bring people together to lead the world.
Wow.
Yeah, again, shows that he's asleep at the wheel, or was. I mean, one 5-second glance at the budget would tell you that we are the essential nation. The UN, NATO, all this stuff. America is the essential nation. We are it. We're the bulk of the funding and resources and everything. And we are tired of being that. I mean, honestly, if China decides to roll into Italy, is Europe going to be able to do anything about it without us? No, they didn't do it in World War I, and they certainly couldn't defend themselves in World War II without us either. I don't know how much they juiced him up for this interview, but he went into democracy too. Actually, you know what? Honestly, he nailed it, whether he knows it or not.
Instead of democracy expanding around the world, they're receding.
Yes, democracy is receding, but not in the way Democrats think. France barred their populist candidate from running for office via a bogus court charge. Romania had their first round of presidential elections overturned by a court because their version of Donald Trump won. Great Britain is throwing you in jail for a Facebook post, and you, Joe Biden, threw a bunch of grandmas in jail for entering a Capitol building at police direction sometimes because they were wearing a MAGA hat. Yes, democracy is retreating around the world.
Guys, you don't think that this stuff is real? Look at this right here. Look at the NATO defense spending. You tell me where this is even. Look at all the other countries. I know we're the #1 superpower in the world, but guess what? It would look a lot better if they actually held to what they agreed to. And this is what makes me so upset, is that everybody, even Biden, they have him going around now because they couldn't hold him back. Nobody wanted to give him a platform in America, so he had to go to the BBC. But what I love is that facts don't lie. They have used our taxpayer dollars for anything and everything that they wanted to, and now that we're finally pulling back, now everybody's starting to see, oh dang, that kind of doesn't look fair. Oh yeah, that kind of looks off. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
It's because of people like you, though. And the best part was when he identified his own problem.
You said once that we're living through a dramatic change in the world of the sort that you only see every, 6 or 8 generations. Young people are very frightened at the moment. I think possibly more frightened than any time I can remember in my lifetime. Are they right to be?
They're right to be concerned. That's why they have to be involved.
Oh, they're involved because you scared them. So, I mean, thanks for that, I guess. You people, you Democrats, destroyed their high school and their college time with COVID. And then they came out of college and there was no job market for them because your policies crushed the economy. Boom. And because of that, it's now cool to be a Republican again. Young folks are jumping ship from your party and joining the Republican Party by a factor of 2. All in. Look, I love it.
Guys, is this not beautiful? We're actually seeing things turn so much. It's amazing. I love it. But again, there is literally people like Tim Burchett, who's my representative out of Tennessee, calling out leadership, who says maybe leadership doesn't care about rogue judges, but America does. Put to a vote. Let's see where Congress stands. We are having the GOP calling out the rhinos for all their just delays. Mike Johnson just out of nowhere said, hey, we're going to take a 4-day vacation. We're just going to go. They had all types of things scheduled, votes scheduled. Now they're not going to be voted on. They said, oh, we'll vote on it next week. Well, guess what? That's what they said on things 2 weeks ago. They're not on the docket anymore. I love it that every single time something happens like this, more and more people are calling out the rhinos, the fake people that are trying to say they're MAGA, but they're not. And what I love is that we're seeing more and more true patriots coming out and getting a place to show that, hey, look, we're not afraid to have a lawsuit go through. We're not afraid to sue, whether it's the FBI, the DOJ, whoever, to make sure the truth comes out. If you appreciate this, guys, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, check this out.
Davis. Mike, you've got a few minutes. I know the Article 3 Project was celebrating a lot of the judicial nominations from President Trump in his first 100 days. If you want to walk through some of the heavy hitters, I guess for once, judicial nominations and nominees that are actually good and not radical activist judges, let's hear it.
Yeah, President Trump's biggest and most consequential accomplishment of his first term was the appointment of 3 justices and the transformation of the federal judiciary to the first constitutionalist majority in 90 years. And, these judges and justices will disappoint us from time to time, but just imagine how bad it would have been if Hillary Clinton replaced the late, great Justice Scalia instead of President Trump. And President Trump is going to build on this first-term accomplishment in his second term with even more bold and fearless judges. And the Article 3 Project is working very closely with President Trump, White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, Dave Warrington, the White House counsel, Steve Kenney, the Deputy White House counsel who we've had on the War Room, Attorney General Pam Bondi and her team, and they are off to a very strong start with their first batch of judicial nominees. You have Whitney Hermendorfer on a Tennessee-based seat on the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals. She is a brilliant legal mind, a rock-solid constitutionalist. She's clerk for Justice Alito and 2 other Supreme Court justices. She has taken on the woke left, transgender ideology. She's been a strong advocate for First Amendment rights for people with Christian beliefs and other conservatives. She's going to be a great addition to the Sixth Circuit. And then President Trump has picked 4 all-stars for district court seats in the state of Missouri, particularly in the Eastern District of Missouri in St. Louis, which is going to become a litigation hotbed because I think it's like 7 of the 8 district court judges are now Republican appointed. You have Christian Stevens, Joshua Devine, who worked on the Senate Judiciary Committee, an all-star, Maria Lanahan, Zachary Bluestone. We are off to a very strong start. These are even more bold and fearless judges. These are not your typical Federalist Society cookie cutter judicial nominees. These are Article 3 Project approved judicial nominees, and that's what President Trump wants. I've spoken with him several times about many times about judicial nominees, and we are delivering for President Trump and the American people with even more bold and fearless judges. This is more important than ever when you see this ongoing.
Guys, this is what I love so much is what you're hearing is that Trump is working with people like Mike Davis, Steve Bannon, Tom Fitt, all these people to get the right people in place, especially for the judges, because what I'm about to show you next, especially when it means to cutting off the Democratic slush fund of Act Blue and what they have found in their probing, guys, this is huge because especially in DC, you got to have the right people to prosecute all these big organizations and make sure they're held accountable for their fraud and corruption.
Fair against President Trump. Before the election, they tried to bankrupt him for non-fraud. They tried to take him off the ballot several times unconstitutionally under the 14th Amendment. They tried to throw him in prison 4 times for life for non-crimes. They tried to take off his head. And President Trump got a decisive mandate from the American people. And now we have these activist judges around the country, these Obama and Biden radicals around the country who are sabotaging the president. And that's why we need judges like this first slate of judges that President Trump just put up, these bold and fearless judges who are going to follow the law, and they're going to make sure that we're following the Constitution and they're not cowed by the left, like too many of these Republican-appointed judges have been in the past. More bold and fearless. We want Supreme Court justices in the mold of Justice Judge Eileen Cannon, right? And instead of some of these
Yes.
other
I guess you could just say, no more Boasbergs. How about that? Mike Davis, we've got to bounce. Give the audience your coordinates.
Guys, this is huge because right here, what you're seeing on the screen, top House committee accused Dems fundraising giant of facilitating bad actors in a bombshell DOJ letter. Guys, this came out today, this afternoon, that you've got, again, guys, I told you, you got House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, and Committee on House Administration Brian Steele, who have been probing the Democratic fundraising platform Act Blue. Well, guess what they found out, guys? They found out that they have uncovered a ton of weak fraud prevention, meaning there's a lot of foreign actors, a lot of people that are foreign donations are coming through, and there's no accountability whatsoever on the platform. This is supposed to be for Americans only. Only United States citizens, Americans donating to these platforms because they go to our federal elections. Well, they found out, oh wow, we have found so much foreign donations that were put in through Americans' names that don't even have any idea what was happening. Now that this has happened, they are 100% going through the DOJ to hold this organization accountable and make sure that the American people's elections are not being interfered by these foreign actors, guys. This is huge. What we are seeing is that the next election is going to be vastly different than the last 2, 3, 4 elections we've had, just because the Democrats will not have as much money as they used to, because Act Blue is finally being held accountable. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Check this out.
Democrats are channeling the immortal words of Hillary Clinton from back in 2016.
Now, having said all this, why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask?
8 years later, and the Democrats are still asking themselves, why aren't they 50 points ahead of President Trump? Semaphore pointing this out in a new article, quote, Trump's falling in polls. Why aren't Democrats benefiting? And one Democratic pollster sums it up this way, quote, voters don't necessarily trust that the Democrats are going to stand up for them. Even folks that are seeing pain from what Trump's doing see some logic in it. But come on, is it really that mysterious? I mean, have you ever actually listened to Chuck and Nancy?
Donald Trump is the embodiment of what the founders feared. Someone hostile, a president hostile to the rule of law, scared of debate, scared of opposition. So instead, he tries to crush anything he views as opposition.
This guy comes along and says he's going to lower prices. He hasn't. He's going to do this, he's going to do that. All smokescreen. But we have to make sure the public knows what is in their interest.
Wow.
And good old Greasy Gavin's got a French laundry list of reasons why the Democrats suck.
We got crushed, and we need to understand why. Was it because of the incumbency penalty? Was it because of inflation? Was it because of interest rates? Was it because of immigration? Was it because we were too, quote unquote, woke? Was it because of issues with Israel? Was it all of the above?
I always look for something to...
Guys, I told you. Is Gavin Newsom not sounding more like a moderate person because he wants to run for office in 2028? So he is trying to put all the left-wing progressive ideologies, ideas, everything to the past, and saying reason why we lost is because this, and I'm the new face of the Democrat Party. Sleazy, slimy Gavin Newsom ain't gonna happen.
Compliment. I'll look for a green shoot to say, oh, that's interesting, that's different, and it's May. This has been since last November when they lost. And still, I think partly because they have been running against President Trump for 10 years. And as you can see, and they do know that their party leadership is so geriatric. I don't mean to say that in the negative way, but they are older people, much older. And then you have this contrast with the younger people, and their policy ideas don't align. Mm-hmm. So all they're doing is chasing after these small dollar donations and these little hits that they can try to get for the ex posts or some sort of like something online so that they can make a little bit of money. And then their opposition is ready, fire, aim. So they're just doing everything. So for example, you just showed Gavin Newsom. I mean, supposedly a busy guy, right? He's governor, he's got a podcast, he's got to do all these things, wants to be a party leader. Why is he doing the BBC? like if you have this kind of time and you want to be in touch with the people, I don't think that's necessarily going to work. Now, Trump's numbers have come down a little bit, but what's interesting is that hasn't meant that the Democrats have come up. They've fallen even further. So people are just mad at everybody. They don't like what is happening. I know that there are people who love what Trump's doing and there are people who hate what he's doing. What's happening is that the opposition to Trump is getting more and more agitated, right? They tend to amp up. They get so mad at him and they can't figure out why he's successful, and they tend to turn that into hate rather than to try to figure out, okay, here's some positive things that we can say that we could do and move forward. And I don't know when that will be, that they'll get it together. Maybe they should buy your book.
Maybe they should. Still on sale where books are sold. Judge Shanine, a lot of a lot of navel gazing going on. Usually when you're stuck in a rut, you got to just take action. Stop thinking, just act.
Yeah, but the Democrats can act because there's nothing about them that's authentic. And that's the problem. I mean, they're fighting to be cool. And the truth is, if it's natural, that's great. But they're not natural. Everything is scripted. Everything is, okay, they got the memo today. Today we're going to sing, we're going to dance, we're going to curse, or we're going to pick your fighter. And the problem is it's more damning of the Democrat Party that if, Trump's numbers, let's say, are going down, the Democrats' numbers are not going up because Americans don't consider them a viable option.
Boom.
I mean, I don't know that it's just that they're mad at everybody, as that, like, the Democrats have never shown that they care about Americans. They're more concerned about Abrego Garcia. They're more concerned about the illegals. They're more concerned about men and women's sports. They're more concerned about open borders, cashless bail, and making sure that, they've got all these DEI policies. And the shame of it is it's such a missed opportunity for them. That, the voters went for Trump because the Democrats didn't offer them anything. They offered them nothing that they could latch onto. And by the way, millennials are not obsessed or focused on DEI or all of this, like threats to democracy. They're focused on buying a house. This is the first generation where our children are not going to be as successful or as wealthy as we are. And that really is an opportunity that is so missed. And at the end of the day, whether or not Donald Trump's numbers are going down, 92% of the voters who voted for Trump are still satisfied with their vote because he's doing what he said he would do.
Boom.
And, Schumer and Pelosi can get out there. Pelosi says, well, they haven't done anything. Well, has anybody talked about the fact that the price of eggs have gone down? No, it's just when they were high, they couldn't stop complaining about it. But now that they're low, they're not going to give Trump credit for that. Of course not.
Boom. Guys, let me tell you this. The Democrats are so fake. If this isn't the most honest, I can live by a set of rules. You live by a lesser set of rules, but because of what I do, it's more important, and I have to do this. I never thought I'd be showing this, but especially for this guy, Bernie Sanders. Guys, if you appreciate this, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, guys, this right here, Bernie Sanders gets called out because he's being seen caught doing what? Flying private airplanes, but yet he's going to all these events trying to say that the oligarchs like Trump, Elon Musk, and all these guys are so bad, yet he's separated himself by flying and $200,000 a year on private airplanes. Listen to this, guys. If this isn't the most hypocritical statement, I don't know what is.
Alyssa Slotkin, senator from Michigan, she said you shouldn't be using oligarch. It's over people's head. You've gotten criticized from other people. Free Beacon says Bernie Sanders spent $221,000 on private jets fighting the oligarchy tour, paid for by friends of Bernie Sanders. That you've spent millions of dollars in campaign funds on private jet travel over the years. How do you push back on both of those things?
When's the last time you saw Donald Trump during a campaign mode at National Airport?
No. It doesn't. But he's also not fighting the oligarchy.
No. You run a campaign and you do 3 or 4 or 5 rallies in a week. The only way you can get around to talk to 30,000 people. Think I'm going to be sitting on a waiting line at United, waiting, 30,000 people are waiting? That's the only way you can get around. No apologies for that. That's what campaign travel is about. We've done it in the past. We're going to do it in the future.
You see that? When you do 3 or 4 campaigns in a week, man, if you're doing one a day, you surely can take a normal flight. But when it comes to these people, guys, even Bernie Sanders, every single dang time, it's always rules for thee and not for me. I will live by a different set of rules. I will have my luxury. I will be in a private jet, and it's okay for me because I'm doing something different than you. But just keep giving me your money. Keep putting it in my pocket because I promise I'm fighting for you. All a bunch of you know what, guys, and even what you're about to hear next. The federal overreach is huge, guys, and I'm so glad that they're finally taking a dang stance to fight for Americans' just initial freedoms, guys, freedom of speech. Listen to this.
The chair recognizes the chairman of the committee, Mr. Jordan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Canapero, what was the number? How many crimes? It was like 5,000. You had some number?
In the U.S. Code, we, with reliable certainty, estimated 5,199, but that's only the code.
That's only the code. So how many crimes are out there that aren't created by Congress but are created by the agencies?
We don't know for sure, but the number is almost certainly around between 300,000 and 400,000.
So Americans can be charged with all kinds of crimes that they don't even know exist, that they don't even know they broke, that were created by people they didn't elect. That's the situation we're in.
Correct.
Such a deal. Right? Such a deal for Americans. This is how ridiculous it is. I'll give you a real life example. The ATF, out of thin air, said something that they had even said was legal, that had always been legal, said we're going to now say pistol braces are illegal, and if you don't get rid of it, turn it in, destroy it, whatever, your property, if you don't do that, even though we told you it was fine years ago, even though there's nothing in the law that says it's a crime, you're going to be a felon. It's crazy. So I want to thank the chairman for bringing this together. I mean, you cannot create talk about lack of respect for the citizens of this country. They don't even get a say in the people they elect on most of this stuff that they can get charged with, which is crazy. How does that fit with our constitutional system, Professor Turley? I'll let you, Mr. Tolman, talk a little here too. And we appreciate you all being here.
Well, it goes to what I mentioned earlier, that the danger of overcriminalization is it can change what being a citizen is. If everyone is potentially criminal in conduct that they engage in every day, it changes the relationship to the government. And by the way, it also has an impact on how people view real crime. So if everyone is a presumptive felon, if everyone is a mattress tag puller, if everyone can be charged with the discretion of a prosecutor for things that most people do, then you lose the stigma, the clarity for the real crimes. And that includes things like shoplifting. That is, you see the sort of casual attitude towards law breaking, but the government can be a terrible teacher in that respect by treating everything as potentially criminal, and then nothing's really criminal. It's just basically the government can either bring you into the criminal justice system or not based upon a whim or discretion. That has an enormously corrosive impact on the meaning of being a citizen, the relationship of individuals to their state.
Yeah, it diminishes respect for the law in general, and may lead to less prosecution of real crime, which Mr. Kiley just talked about. And then the thing that scares me, as much as both of those, is it encourages, I think, the weaponization of the government against people they don't like or who have a different political philosophy. And we have seen all three of those things in the last few years, which is, again, frightening and why this hearing is so important. Mr. Tolman, I'll go to you.
And one thing to keep in mind about the 300,000 plus regulations that have criminal penalties, almost all of those are white collar crime. So you're targeting you have the largest section of your criminal laws are actually targeting those that most likely have no criminal intent. And that's why we're seeing such ability of prosecutors without any proper accountability to use that against everyday citizens that don't have criminal intent.
So back to the mens rea for at least that.
Or at least that.
Yeah, that would make sense. I'll give the Democrat witness, which I normally don't do in hearings like this. I'll let you say something if you want, Mr. Fox.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you know, the whole idea is you have to actually intend to commit a crime. Just doing something, you know, thinking you're trying to help someone, like, saving a bunch of sharks from poachers. Or there's another case where it was a man who was hiking on a mountain. He was a professional runner, went up what unbeknownst to him was a closed trail. It had 2 tiny little signs. Now he's battling federal charges. There's another case, Lesh versus United States, it's pending in front of the Supreme Court, which was a snowmobiler who was charged for taking pictures, advertising his business, which is not what he was doing, but that's what they allege, while he was on federal land. And in a case like that, because the max penalty is 6 months in jail, according to the Supreme Court, despite that there's no textual basis in the Constitution or historical basis at all, he doesn't even get a right to a jury trial at all. So this is just government, like, you did something you didn't know was a crime, now you're guilty. And not only that, but of course, Congress never even passed these laws.
It's been one thing to shake him down, but they're going to shake him down and put him in jail potentially. It's crazy.
Guys,
Mr. Chairman, thank you for this good hearing. I yield back.
How crazy is it to be put in jail from a law that was never passed by Congress, but passed by an unelected bureaucrat, and then all of a sudden you're here and you're just thinking like, okay, well, I nobody knew, nobody says, anything, you're just doing a normal life thing. This is what Trump and all them have been talking about, is unelected bureaucrats are controlling America. They're controlling our rules. They're controlling who is being held accountable, because they only enforce the laws whenever they want to. Look at this right here, guys. This is such big, huge news, guys. FBI agent who arrested Rudy Giuliani, one of Trump's guys, Jonathan Buma, has now been arrested himself by the Trump administration. We finally got some arrest. Why? Because he put in an all-tell-all book, 135 pages classified material over the government, and is thought that, he's going to make all this money and he's going to be safe and he's going to be protected. Well, guess what? You can't do that. When you, especially part of the FBI, now he's been caught, people trying to expose things, guys. I'm telling you, what I love is that we're finally getting the lawfare out, because, again, these people targeted Trump's people. Peter Navarro, Steve Bannon, Rudy Giuliani, all these guys. And now justice is actually taking place. Krisha Walters, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Y'all show Krisha some love in the chat, as well as Peter Ortiz for gifting 5 TrueLife News memberships. Guys, show Peter some love in the chat if you got a free membership from him, guys. What a wonderful blessing. Growing the TrueLife News family, guys. I got to bring our other guy, who is a huge pit bull, not afraid to call it out, because guess what, guys? Even the Democrats right now are starting to side with Trump on some of his tariffs, because they're working and America's winning. Listen to this.
John Kennedy. Senator Kennedy, if you heard the riff, again, I know there are disagreements with Canada. I never understood the 51st state business. It seems to me we can work out the disagreements. It also seems to me, Senator Kennedy, that when we're kind of aiming our guns, our real heavy guns, I'd like to see them aimed at China, because the Chinese, in my opinion, are our enemy, not only geopolitically, but economically and trade. And they reneged on the Phase 1 deal. I spent 2.5 years under that. Bob Lighthizer was our lead. Steve Mnuchin, Wilbur Ross, and I, and some others. And they're the problems, it seems to me. Canada can be worked out, but what you think, Senator Kennedy?
Well, the people of Canada are our friends. The people of China could be, but they aren't allowed to be because of their government, the Communist Party of China. China is our enemy, unquestionably. China, and when I say China, I'm talking about their government. China is also on a bad way. Their economy is weak as rainwater. Their economy right now looks like somebody chewed them up and spit them out and stepped on them. Their unemployment is way up, particularly among young people. Their property market has imploded. Their debt is sky high, particularly at the local level. Their numbers, their GDP numbers are inflated. The other point I'd make about China, how can I put this? Trusting China to do anything other than what is in their best interest is naive and
Boom.
inconsistent with history and common sense. The Chinese...
Guys, if you appreciate this, if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button, guys, for us, thank you so much for your support.
Government cheats. They do. They can steal your socks without taking your shoes off. Now, but they need America. They buy from us, or they sell us about 4 to 5 times more than we sell them. And that's why ultimately we will win in a trade war. Having said that, I hope that Xi Jinping in China has more sense than God gave a goose and is willing to step up and call the president and say, let's work something out. If he would do that, we could.
We could, sir, but I'd sit here not believing him. I mean, we spent 2.5 years. We spent the better part of 2018, 2019, and then beginning of 2020. By the way, China was lying about the origins, the Wuhan origins of coronavirus. But, you know, they reneged on the commodity purchases for farmland. They reneged on the commodity purchase for manufacturing. They reneged on the intellectual property theft. They reneged on the forced transfer of technology. They reneged on American ownership of companies who operate inside China. Now, you know all this because we all debriefed you and you were involved in this. I'm just saying today, Canada's got some things to deal with. You know, they've got a digital tax on our companies. That's very bad. They've got a tax on our streaming companies. That's very bad. We got issues with Canada. But Canada, not the worst. China's the worst. You know what I mean? And I'd like to focus on this China thing. You see, what you just said on the economy. Here's one for you. Some of the Wall Street analysts are saying that China has stopped providing numbers on things like unemployment and retail sales and some of the property loan problems, the property debt problems, real estate, because they're so bad. What'd they do? Did they fix it? No. They just erased the numbers, so the analysts can't get at them anymore. What you think of that? Just erasing the numbers. Heck, I tried to erase some numbers once upon a time. It didn't work too well.
I agree with everything you said. Trust in God, but tie up your camel. That's what's got to guide you when you deal with China.
Yes.
As you know, Larry, you've negotiated with them. We admitted China to the World Trade Organization December 11, 2001. China started cheating December 12. But if we do reach a trade deal with them, we won't just trust them, we'll verify. And there is a way to verify what we're selling them and what they're selling us. But the Chinese tariffs and their trade barriers, they're just much more oppressive than ours are, which is why President Trump elevated ours. He's got their attention, but there's a way home in this disagreement that will benefit both sides, but President Xi is going to have to make a move.
Well, I hope President Trump keeps most of the tariffs on while we negotiate with China. The other thing is, you know, right now, because we, who are China's best customer, right? China's losing its best customer, so there's rioting by factory workers running through a whole bunch of Chinese cities. And factories in China are being closed. And now I read in the newspaper that a lot of Chinese-owned companies are trying to move from China to the United States. Now, this guy, Xi Jinping, you know, he thinks he's emperor. That's what people report back to me. But rioting in the cities, closing down factories, and ordinary, I'm not talking about major companies, ordinary little Chinese businesses trying to relocate to Texas, Arizona, you know, Sunbelt places that reward success, unlike China does. I mean, that whole story is in turmoil. That's why I would, you know, let Canada fix Canada. We'll fix Canada. The hell, that's going to be easy compared to the China problem.
Well, look, I will bet you a soda and a nice hat that Chinese economy is not growing at more than 2%. Now, they say 5%. But they lie like they breathe. But we're going to have to wait them out. It's going to be painful for us, but it's going to be even more painful for them. And I'll say it again, their economy is weak as rainwater. Our economy is in much better shape than theirs is.
Guys, do you not love that, guys? And that's why what you're seeing right here on screen is so important, that we are trying to make a not just a 1 year, 1 month type of change. This is a generational change with the tariff deals to remove federal income taxes. Imagine the amount of greatness that we can achieve if people could have more money to invest, more money to buy things, more money, and the federal government wasn't wasting it on the most stupidest things that we've heard in the past 3 months. And that's why I'm super happy that we are reporting right here, guys. This is the letter that was pinned to Mike Johnson, because he's actually trending right now on X, and a lot of people are saying Mike Johnson is useless, doesn't have a backbone, flows with the Democrats. They pinned a letter to Mike Johnson and Leader Scalise saying, look, big picture is the national debt has exceeded $36 trillion and is growing by nearly $2 trillion each year. They said, we have to get this under control. And they demand that we have the reconciliation bill with deep cuts. They said the $2 trillion has to be there or there is no deal from them whatsoever. Finally gaining a backbone to tell the rest of dang Congress, who I think are the worst, stop spending our hard-earned money on stupid things. Peter Ortiz, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. He said, Dream Team, Trump, Vance, Bondi, Cash, and Jordan. I love it. And Bonnell Anderson with the membership. Let's go. Y'all show Bonnell some love in the chat. When we look, guys, at the next steps, what is Trump trying to do? What are they trying to accomplish? All he's trying to, it's the golden age, guys. That's what it's all about. We get to the golden age by having other countries pay for our income taxes. Americans can move further, have more money in their pockets, and be able to have more wealth. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Check this out.
America's golden age is just getting started, but some expats are raining on our parade. Irish Rosie fled the country when Trump won, but that's not enough. She wants Trump in a straitjacket.
When are people going to start to realize how much he is in a cognitive decline?
Wow.
How he can't form coherent thoughts or sentences.
You know, she never said this about Biden. Liars, guys.
He had a speech the other day and he couldn't say the word anonymous. He was like, it was a something is very off with him. And you know, there's a 25th Amendment, or isn't that what it is?
You hear that,
you
guys?
can say our president is not with it enough anymore to be the leader of the free world.
Trump hasn't changed since the 80s. We watched the last guy melt like ice cream.
I know people that are unbelievably sharp, and they're older than 87. But I watch Bernie Sanders. He's a nut job, but he's still sharp. He's sharp as he's the same guy he was. He hasn't gone down. But Biden is really, he's the worst thing to happen to old people.
Biden's brain fog was the biggest open secret in D.C. A new book shows that while Biden's team was calling us conspiracy theorists, behind the scenes, they were panicking. His top White House aides debated having him undergo a cognitive test to prove his fitness for a second term, but ultimately decided against the move. They swear Biden would have aced the test. And if he didn't, I'm sure they would have shared the results. Now that Biden's secrets are spilling out, the people who are closest to him are scurrying like rats.
I never saw that person, not a single time, and I was in the Oval Office every day, that was on that debate stage. I'm not a doctor. Aging happens quite quickly.
I never had, period, full stop. I would be lying to you, and I won't lie to you, as it relates to the direct engagement I had with Joe Biden that ever suggested a cognitive decline.
You don't need to go to medical school to notice that Grandpa can't ride a bike. Other Democrats are being a little more honest.
I was at a White House reception, and he was bad. He was quite bad in it. And he told the same story twice, and he just seemed mostly old. Not, in no way did I look at that and say, that man cannot do the job of president.
These guys are like, he wasn't ripe for the coup, but we could still order him around and tell him what to do. Everyone knew Biden was demented, but if you talked about it,
I could argue that the White House press corps didn't make this an issue, and they could have. Where's the president today? How come he's not doing a public event today? How come he hasn't done a press conference today? And I think this is where the Biden White House created a chill among reporters, meaning if you dared do that, good luck getting your interview that you were hoping to get with Biden or Harris, et cetera. So they made it clear there was a price to pay, I think, to some reporters. So yeah, I do think some pulled their punches in that press room.
cover-ups have consequences. Biden's legacy's dead, and Democrats are on life support. Now, Jill Biden is the breadwinner of the family. She's linking up with billionaire ex-con Michael Milken to work on women's health, whatever that means. Things aren't so peachy for the rest of the party. Their future is so grim, they are looking for Kamala Harris for answers. But before they can think about 28, Democrats need to finish their civil war.
I'm a healthcare worker, and I want to know what you're doing about the genocide in Gaza.
I more than welcome people who disagree or are maybe even super pissed off at me for any issue to come. But we have some ground rules here, which is that please wait for the Q&A.
Young or old, Democrats just can't win. DNC boss David Hogg says age is just a number.
Clearly something is not going right here. And sometimes it's not just a messaging problem that you have, it's a broader messenger problem that you have in the first place. I'm not just saying, well, if you're above a certain age, you shouldn't be there. Unfortunately, sucking is something that is not limited to being above a certain age.
The Democrat machine got broken in a landslide. Stephen A. says he's the only mechanic.
I'm a moderate, and I would say if I had to run, it would be as a Democrat, but I'm not happy with the Democratic Party. So the Democratic Party as presently constructed, it would pretty much need to be purged in order for me to assume that I would want to be associated with them, and I would garner their support because I don't like the way they've gone about doing a lot of things for a very, very long period of time. You had people literally scared they were going to lose their jobs if they pronounced the wrong pronoun, for crying out loud. It got that bad. And I think that that's one of the reasons that Donald Trump is in office today.
Guys, I told you, something is coming out of the Democratic Party that is going to forever, guys, forever change the whole spectrum of the Democratic Party. And what you're about to see next, guys, is huge, guys. This is so massive. Bonnell Anderson, thank you so much for the super chat, guys. We got What's News donated 10 TrueLife News memberships. Show What's New some love in the chat if you got a free membership from What's New, as well as Peter Ortiz. Let's go, guys. So much giving tonight. God bless y'all. Y'all show Peter some love if you got a super chat, a free membership from him, guys. Thank you so much for your kindness. Remember, guys, this goes to our charities, and I'm so thankful because every single month we are growing it. I love it. Check this out.
You know, I've been probably one of the most vocal. Eric, you know that I was actually one of the only members of Congress that tried to go after Merrick Garland, and it was for Republicans specifically that blocked that basically contempt vote from Congress actually being able to physically go get Garland and show us and the American people the her tapes. And then it was also carryover leadership staff as well as leadership itself that had that softball perspective. You even just heard it. They don't want to do a contempt vote on some of these judges because they just don't think it'll pass in the Senate. Well, it's not our job to decide what passes in the Senate. It's our job to do the right thing, to hold those judges in contempt and force the Senate to go on the board for it. So I would say that we need to be aggressive. And yes, we absolutely do need to ensure that we are passing President Trump's agenda and legislation. But again, you know, sometimes people, and this is kind of funny, Eric, but people say, you know, they're in California and they're telling me, you know, they're not going to vote for me again because I'm not passing President Trump's agenda, but they don't know who their own representatives are. And so what I would tell you is that, you know, I'm simply one member. We are one of President Trump's biggest allies, and we will continue to hold leadership to the fire, even if that's our own detriment. But people need to actively be getting involved in contacting their member of Congress, and you can find out who your member of Congress is by going in and typing in your zip code to the house.gov website.
Guys, you hear that, guys? Again, people don't know that it's Mike Johnson who is literally holding up the line when it comes to bringing bills to the floor, having the votes. And a lot of people say, but what about the Senate? It doesn't matter. What we need to show is when you pass the bills in the House, it puts the pressure on the Senate to get their butts in order to be held accountable for what the American people want, guys. I love it. Also, guys, got to give some love to Mr. Tracy J. Norby for gifting 10 True Life News memberships, as well as Peter Ortiz with another 10 and April Green with 5. Guys, show these people some love in the chat. I want to see some hearts. I want to see some love. Growing this family, guys, it means so much to me. Y'all are so kind, and I hope, guys, that God blesses you. I know He will. We are making a difference in people's lives. We're bringing the truth, guys. It is so amazing. Make sure, guys, show Mr. Norby, Peter Ortiz, and April Green some love in the chat. Check this out.
Congressman Byron Donalds joins us now. I still can't figure out how there is this much concern over the due process when you've brought millions of people into a country illegally.
Look, you're confused about it, so am I. But the truth is, you have the Democratic left that is so committed to open borders that they will ignore the law on the front end. They will ignore border security procedures. They will ignore what the men and women who serve in Border Patrol were telling the administration day in, day out, while they let tens of million people in the country. And now that they lost, they're going to hide behind judges and say, well, that's not fair. Everybody needs a day in court. Number one, all these people that came into the country, only about 5% of them actually go to the court hearings anyway. Number two, the president has the ability to issue deportation orders for people who entered the country illegally. And that's what he's doing. And that's what he should do, because that's what the American people voted for last November. We cannot set up a situation in our country where you have one president just ignore the law, be flagrant, let millions of people in, and then try to use our own court and legal system against us because we simply can't hire enough judges. We don't have the infrastructure. It will take a decade, if not longer, to process all of these people. It's simply not right. It's not fair to the American people. President Trump is right in this, and that's why he's going to deport criminal illegal aliens first and then go through the process of sending a lot of people home.
Yep. I think we should be also thinking about prosecuting the people that did this to the country in the first place. As we hear all these screams for due process, we need to have a process, a criminal process for the people that did this. The people at DHS, Mayorkas, et cetera. I mean, you can't just do this to a country. And I still can't believe what they did to this country. And it's just so blatantly awful and immoral and should be illegal. The House has passed the No Rogue Rulings Act, which is aimed at stopping these activist judges that are doing so much damage to the mandate that this president has. The Speaker calling on the Senate to take it up. Take a listen.
Are judicial impeachments off the table for the rest of this Congress?
No, look, impeachments are never off the table if it's merited. But in our system, we've had 15 federal judges impeached in the entire history of the country. I mean, there may be some that I feel merit that, but you got to get the votes for it. What can we do? Using our power in the House. Darrell Iss's bill is a great response. The No Rogue Rulings Act, we passed it through the House, we sent it to the Senate with every expectation that they should be able to take that up. And I certainly hope they can, because again, it shouldn't be a partisan issue. It should be something that every American agrees with. We've got to restore faith in our system of justice.
Congressman, I think a lot of Americans are getting worried that they're going to be able to stall out this administration until 2 years from now when
you guys,
possibly Democrats get the House back. Is that a fear of yours as well?
Well, look, it's not a fear of mine, because illegal immigration is still the #1 issue facing this country. And so if Democrats, if their position to try to win back the House or the Senate in the midterm elections is that they are going to slow down Donald Trump from deporting illegal aliens out of America, then they're going to lose again, because the American people have been very clear on this. It's not right to open up our borders, leave Chicago, New York, Denver, so many other major cities overwhelmed with illegal immigrants, which do take resources from poor families in these communities. It's not right to subject people in our country to criminality, or in the unfortunate incident of Rachel Morin and Jocelyn Nungary to lose their lives just so the radical left can get their way with massive open illegal immigration. So if the Democrats want to hide behind that, actually, I'm not that concerned at all after I just made the point. They will lose, and they will lose badly. It's time to secure our nation. Donald Trump is doing that. It's time to send a lot of people home. He's working to do that. These radical judges need to get out of the way and side with the American people.
Man, it's see, guys, that's what we need to hear, but we need somebody in the leadership who will do what it takes, guys. Nadine Jones, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Guys, I want to say thank you to everybody who is watching, guys, to all of our subscribers and viewers. Guys, thank you so much for your continued support. If you're not subscribed, please consider joining our family here at TrueLife News. We want you here. We want to serve you every day with the top news, guys. We bust our butt to give you the best show possible, and it means the world to us whenever you support us with your likes, guys. If you don't mind hitting the thumbs up like button. When you share these videos, it means so much to us. We want to get the truth out, and we want to bring the best show possible every single time. And guys, we've had so much giving tonight. I got to give some love to our members of the channel. Guys, y'all are the best, as well as those who've donated memberships a ton tonight, guys. And what I love is it's growing the TrueLife News family, guys. I love it. Want to give some love to Ruby Hoove, T Heavy Guy, Krisha Walters, Peter Ortiz, Bonnell Anderson, What's New, Mr. Tracy J. Norby, April Green, Nadine Jones. Guys, we got to get some special 10 gifted memberships from T Heavy Guy. You've got 20 gifted memberships from Peter Ortiz. I'm counting, guys. You got 10 gifted from What's New, 10 gifted from Mr. Tracy J. Norby, 5 gifted from April Green. Show them some love in the chat. Thank you so much, Patty Razor, Lisa Young, for your continued support. What an amazing group of people, guys. We couldn't do it without you. We're here to serve you. We love you so much. Appreciate you guys. Remember, we're here for you. America first, baby. That's where we're moving towards. We're exposing the truth. Exposing all the fraud, the waste, and abuse with the truth. We love you. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.